The world was barely catching its breath when the shocking news hit like a thunderbolt. Malcolm-Jamal Warner, beloved actor, respected voice, and cultural truth teller, was dead. A drowning accident, they said. A tragic, unforeseen event on the sun-drenched shores of Costa Rica. He was just 54. The headlines screamed freak accident, and authorities rushed to label it nothing suspicious. But the deeper you look, the more this whole thing smells like a cover-up. And if you listen closely, if you rewind the last 72 hours of Malcolm's life, something dark begins to crawl out from the shadows. The story they're selling is clean, almost too clean. Malcolm went swimming, the current pulled him under, and it was simply too late when help arrived. But people close to him aren't buying it, not one bit. And neither are his fans, because what happened doesn't just feel tragic, it feels orchestrated. Almost like someone knew exactly what they were doing, when to strike, and how to make it look like an accident. Here's what's chilling. Malcolm had just dropped a podcast, a final message that now feels like a goodbye letter wrapped in truth bombs. He didn't mince words. He talked about Black survival, the lies of the media, the weight of being a Black man in America, and how real excellence isn't fame or money, it's existing when the world wants you erased. And just 48 hours later, that voice was silenced forever. Coincidence? Or did someone hear something they didn't want the world to know? The beach where he supposedly drowned, Clay's Beach, isn't some remote, empty corner of paradise. It's packed. Tourists, locals, surfers, beachgoers. Always. Yet somehow not a single photo, video, or credible eyewitness statement has surfaced. In 2025, when everyone has a phone, not one frame, not one Instagram story, not one tweet from a bystander, nothing. That's not just odd, it's suspicious. Especially when we know the internet lives to record celebrity moments, even in crisis. But this time, radio silence, and then there's the lifeguard issue. Turns out, not a single lifeguard was on duty at a beach known for deadly currents. Authorities later said it was a resource issue, but if the beach is so dangerous that it's been on their radar for years, how is there no patrol? And here's the kicker, right after the incident, they announced they were suddenly going to redirect resources to that beach, as if the whole thing shook them or exposed them. Still think this was just an accident? Even the timeline of Malcolm's death is messy. Reports conflict. Some say he drowned within minutes, others say it took over 20 before help arrived. Bystanders claim they saw him struggling, yet no names, no interviews. Emergency response? Unclear. Even the statement from Costa Rica's Red Cross is riddled with vague language. The more you read, the less you know. And that's exactly how cover-ups work. Confuse the facts, blur the lines, drain the public's attention. But Malcolm's family, they're not confused. They're angry. And they're no longer staying silent. Behind the scenes, the whispers have grown into a storm. According to sources close to the family, they never believed the drowning story. They reportedly began pushing for private investigations almost immediately, quietly at first, but that silence didn't last. Now, they're allegedly considering hiring outside experts to retrace his final steps and expose what really happened. Because the more they dig, the more twisted it gets. There's even a theory, one that's spreading like wildfire, that Malcolm may have already been dead before he entered the water. That he was poisoned. Not the instant kind, but something slow acting. A chemical designed to kick in just in time to create the illusion of drowning. Think about it. What better way to kill someone quietly than to let the ocean take the blame? And here's the part that makes your skin crawl. Malcolm's own daughter was there. She watched the chaos unfold. And according to rumors, she hasn't spoken publicly because what she saw wasn't what they're telling us. She's shaken, conflicted, and insiders say she's the key to blowing this story wide open. But let's zoom out for a second, because Malcolm isn't the only name on this growing list of suspicious Black celebrity deaths. Fans are connecting dots, lines drawn through time, tracing back to others who spoke out and were swiftly shut down. Nipsey Hussle, shot dead while building Black-owned businesses and speaking on economic freedom. Martin Lawrence, meltdown in public, raving in the street, screaming they're trying to kill me, with a gun in his hand. Everyone assumed he was high, but doctors said there were no substances in his system. So what really happened? And now, Angie Stone, dead in a bizarre car accident just days after exposing shady music industry deals and vowing revenge. She warned them, and then she was gone. Malcolm's death feels like the next chapter in the same book, one where every Truth teller is silenced, one by one, in his final podcast episode titled Not All Hood. Malcolm stripped back the lies. He challenged the notion of what blackness is supposed to look like. He said, loud and clear, that survival alone is excellence, that the game is rigged, that white mediocrity gets rewarded while black brilliance gets erased. And now that message feels prophetic. The tone of his podcast wasn't just reflective, it was heavy, final. And the more people listen to it now, the more it sounds like a warning, maybe even a confession. Did Malcolm know his time was running out? Or worse, did someone tell him it was? Some say he used the podcast to send a signal, a coded goodbye, not just to fans, but to the very people he was calling out. People with power, people who don't take kindly to disobedience. That episode might not just be his last message. It might be the reason he's no longer here. His family allegedly believes the timing wasn't accidental at all. That someone was watching, waiting, and when the moment was right, they struck. But if you think this is just internet paranoia, think again. Malcolm was vocal about the industry. He had no interest in fame games. He spoke truth, he challenged narratives, and he stayed clear of Hollywood's chaos. That made him a threat, a quiet one, but a powerful one. The kind the system doesn't like. He wasn't just acting anymore. He was activating. He talked openly about mass incarceration, cultural erasure, and what it means to be truly seen as a black man in a world that constantly tries to erase you. He didn't sugarcoat anything, and people were starting to listen. Platforms were growing. Fans were connecting. And then, just like that, the voice went silent. Sound familiar? They tried it with Dave Chappelle. He walked away from millions because he saw the strings. And they came for him. Media painted him as difficult, crazy, but he survived. Barely. Not all are that lucky. Malcolm wasn't chasing fame. He was building legacy. Quietly, carefully, intentionally. And that kind of purpose, it scares people who profit from confusion. The industry has a playbook. And if you don't play along, you become a liability. So now the questions are piling up. Who was with him that day? What happened in the final hour before he entered that water? Why are timelines fuzzy? Why has no one stepped forward to confirm or deny anything publicly? Why is his daughter silent? And most importantly, what did Malcolm know? Because whatever it was, it got him killed. At least that's what fans, followers, and even some insiders are starting to believe. The silence around this story isn't comforting, it's deafening. And Malcolm's family, they're not sitting quietly anymore. According to leaks, they're preparing to release a statement. And when they do, everything we think we know about Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death might change. This wasn't just a drowning, it was a silencing. And the more this story unfolds, the more it feels like the beginning of something darker, something bigger. Malcolm's death might not be the end. It might be the start of a truth so explosive, it shakes the entire industry to its core. So now we wait for evidence, for answers, for the silence to finally break, because secrets can't stay buried forever, not even at the bottom of the ocean.